unbelievable video showing Texas troopers rescuing a woman desperately clinging to a tree after floodwaters swept her from her campsite and sent her downriver for 20 miles. Officials got there in time thanks to the efforts of a nearby family who spotted her and made the call. Those heroes join us right now. Carl, Josh, and Jude Jeter, thank you for being here. Carl, take us through. You heard the screams. You saw this woman in a tree. Walk us through what you saw.
Well, we had not totally evacuated. Our home is right on the river, but we're 25 foot in the air, and floodwaters were rising. I had gone about a half a block down the street where I could still watch, but was on drier land. And as soon as the waters stopped rising and began to recede a little bit, I waded in, went up on my deck, and as I did, she spotted me and she started to scream for help. And at first I couldn't locate her. I thought she was in the river itself going downstream, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I finally was able to look across the river into the tree, and I spotted her. So I began to call out to her and tell her that I see her, I got you. We're going to get you some help. It's going to be okay. Just hang on.
And she's just 22 years old. 20 miles she hung on. She said that she saw refrigerators trying to take her under. I can't imagine having gone through that. Jude, what went through your mind when you saw this?
I was getting scared.
Yeah, I imagined you would be. You're so young, having to see something like this. Josh, walk us through what did the rescue look like? So you make this call, you alert authorities, and then take us through the rescue efforts.
So there were multiple teams that showed up. There was a swiftwater rescue from Boerne, Texas team that showed up, and then there were some Texas Parks and Wildlife game wardens that showed up with boats as well. We were able to help launch those boats by hand into the water for them to get in and rescue her. It was just kind of, you didn't think about it. You just did what you needed to do to help them get into the water to save this young lady that's clinging to life in a tree.
Carl, my understanding is you invited this woman into your home. You gave her shelter. What were those conversations like?
Well, they were interesting, to say the least. She was in shock. She was cut and bruised and banged up from the trek and cold. So we wrapped her in blankets and towels and got her into the house, a dry spot, because it was raining outside at the time pretty good. And she began to open up a little bit about what was going on, and said that she went in her and her family went in the river about 4 a.m. and this is 8-something. She said she was in the river for 4 hours at that point.
Josh, sorry, go ahead.
No, she was just extremely upset, concerned, worried, and what have you.
I imagine as much. She was with her family, the only one rescued so far. Carl, Jude, and Josh, you guys are heroes. You saved a woman's life, so thank you for that. And
doing today, I think while it was going on, I kind of felt like a sense of numbness. Saying it out loud is making me realize what actually happened and how bad it actually is.
Just days after being dropped off to start a much-anticipated July term at Camp Mystic, 13-year-old Stella is now processing the rains that ravaged the beloved camp and claimed the lives of so many children. Her 6th summer at Mystic, Stella was on the Cypress Lakeside when storms awoke her cabin early Friday morning. On higher ground and out of view of the Guadalupe side, it wasn't until helicopters began buzzing overhead she realized something was truly wrong.
I think it's the uncertainty that really shook up our cabin.
Eventually, they were told campers along the Guadalupe had been evacuated due to flooding, but had no idea the scope of the crisis.
Eventually, when we got that news, we were all like hysterical and praying a lot, and the whole cabin was like really, really terrified. But not for ourselves.
Worried for those on the other side. It wasn't until military trucks arrived to evacuate their camp late Friday did they get a first glimpse of the devastation.
You'd see kayaks like in trees, and it was kind of horrific because we had no idea. Some people saw a couple trunks and just like in the debris, and then there was first responders in the water pulling out like girls, like sheets. I saw someone holding like a cloth from the water, and there were huge trees ripped out of the ground and like their roots, and it didn't look like Camp Mystic anymore.
Their thoughts remain with those grieving and those still waiting.
We are just so happy that she is safe and we are with her and we have her. So we are just grateful to be some of the fortunate ones. So there's a sense of relief and an equal sense of just awareness of that's not everybody's story. And that's just two kind of competing emotions.
Touched by the outpouring of support for the Camp Mystic community.
We hope that all the folks who are still missing loved ones are feeling that outpouring of love.
They are comforted by words often echoed by camp leaders.
We're at the Blue Oak RV Park right now with the owner, Lorena Guillen. As the sun has come up, the devastation here has become so clear. Can you walk us through the night that the flood happened? When did you realize that it was going to be this devastating?
Nobody could have predicted this much devastation. I started seeing the heavy rain around 1 o'clock. By 2:30, I checked the water levels. I went all the way to the edge of the river, and it was fine. It was perfectly fine. And called the sheriff's department. I asked them. They had no information, and I went to bed. And at 3:30, the lights of the rescue team awoke me, and my husband and I ran over here, and the bottom part of my RV, which is the second level, was completely all the way to the waist. I mean, people were trying to get out of their RVs in their underwear with no shoes, nothing besides their pets, and some of them lost their pets too. But by that point, the rescuers were trying to get a family of 5 that were stuck all the way where those trees are.
Colton, can I have you show? They were on kind of an island over here. Is that kind of where the electric poles are now?
Yes, and over there is still the bathrooms. The family of 5 was right there within 10 feet of the water, having a beautiful time the day before. I mean, it was just perfect weather, perfect everything for on the 3rd, and then it just turned. So at 3:30, when we saw the rescue team trying to get them, they had 2 fast boats. They were the right team to get to them, and they couldn't. The waters were rising so much, it was insane. We had about another 20 minutes to get everybody out of here, and they barely were able to grab their belongings, jump into their cars in the upper level, and take off. But 20 minutes later, the water was up a good 40 feet in this area, and it was just, everything was gone. Every single RV and vehicle, it was gone. They got washed away.
Do you have an estimate of how many RVs were in this area?
Yes, I had 28 up here, and I had 5 on the island, and everything is lost. Everything's gone.
Have they started to find where those RVs were ending up?
Yes, there is about half a mile down the river. There is a wall of about 30 to 40 vehicles all smashed together, and nobody's been able to get to that. But there's a lot in there, and it was just very horrific night. At one point you can see lights, because it was pitch black, at that time of the night. It was just so black, and you could see the lights of vehicles getting washed off from upriver, and you can hear honking. You can see anything, but you can hear honking, and you can hear the screaming. The cabins next door keep smashing against our trees. You can see the scarring of the trees, and that's where they were hitting. That's how high they were getting flushed.
These were the cars hitting the trees that was pulling the bark off?
Yeah, and the cabins from the RV park next door keep hitting, keep getting smashed against the trees, and there was screaming. I mean, and you couldn't see much, but the screaming was unbearable. And we are one of the luckiest one, because we only have 5 people missing, unfortunately. But I was able to get everybody. I mean, my husband and I were banging on doors, getting everybody out. We had the rescue team here because one of my residents heard them screaming at that, in the middle of the night around 3:30 or something like that, and he called 911, and that's the only reason why they were here so soon, so fast. And at one point, the manager next door, she came on running here, said, "We need help too," because they didn't know, and they lost a lot of people. I mean, they had so many missing people at that point, like close to 40 people missing just there, and us 5. That's 45 people in a matter of 1 hour. So it's just incredible. I mean, the force of that water was so insane. Nobody could get into it. That my resident, that was the one that called 911, he was trying to get to the family, and all the way to his waist, and debris hitting him, and he was yelling, "Please throw me your baby," and they couldn't, and they got swept away, and we all saw it, and we all heard them.
And the person that was trying to rescue them, what ended up happening to them?
He got out just with his clothes on. He lost his pets as well, and he had just moved in to enjoy the beautiful summer that we were having. The temperature was right. I mean, you have to understand, Kerrville is an amazing community, small town, but on 4th of July, we go all out. And we hadn't been able to because of the drought, so everybody was mindful of the fireworks and things like that. But this 4th of July, it was the perfect weather. I mean, it was gonna be in the 80s, 90s, and it had been raining, so everything was kind of wet already. So it was perfect, because we could go crazy with fireworks. So everybody was so happy, and everybody was we're gonna have the best 4th of July ever. Every restaurant had bands playing, everybody, and we were all full. I mean, there were tents camping along the river all the way to New Braunfels. And what happened with them? I mean, there is no way to account for those people. I mean, I just don't know what's going to happen now. I mean, I don't know how we're gonna get past all this. And when everybody asks me what are you feeling, I'm like, I just want to know what now. Like, I have bills to pay today. Not in 3 months. I have a restaurant with employees that they need to work to make a living. You think, 2-3 days off. A lot of my employees live day by day, and so do I. My husband and I bought this property 4 years ago as a retirement plan, as our little piece of paradise, and that's what it was.
Has anyone from the city, the county, the state, have they come to visit you?
No, not at all. Not one single one. And that's why, I'm talking to you guys to bring awareness of the area. We need so much help. I mean, I'm just don't understand why we have so many military bases in Texas with people there right now. Why couldn't they be here now? I mean, San Antonio alone, it's just an hour away. We have Lackland, we have Fort Sam Houston. Del Rio has a military base, El Paso. Everybody could have been here that day to help, because yes, I understand the National Guard is rescuing and recovery, which is obviously essential, but that wall of cars half a mile down here with 30-40 vehicles, they have to look. That is part of the recovery, because I know there's bodies buried in there. We know that. I mean, every time we tried to get some of the debris against the tree, we're afraid that we're going to find somebody in the middle of it. So the clean up is part of looking to see what they can find. Maybe I don't know. I just think we should have gotten help a lot more, because all the cleanup that has happened here, and believe me, it's very clean up. They already dug up a car from my parking lot, and that was completely buried. It was done by volunteers. I had probably about 60 or 80 people here volunteering, helping, and that's how we were able to clean this much up and be able to drive over. But that's it. I mean, we need the military. We need our military here to help us with this incredible disaster. I mean, I have some of my customers are in their 90s, and no one has ever seen a flood with this magnitude. No one, not even the 87, the 98, the 2000 and whatever. No, this is a 500-year flood.
So you mentioned that you were out knocking on doors, telling people to evacuate. We were hearing that morning that down in Comfort, there were flood sirens and alarms sounding to alert people. Is there anything like that in this area?
No, there is nothing here like that. Because I don't know how long. I think Comfort was, I'm going to say, lucky enough because we were already alerting the authorities at 3:30, so they knew there was water going that way. They knew it, so they had a little bit of warning, more than we did, because we had no warning.
And then I just want to show people, there's still water over here, but you say this is not actually where the river is supposed to be. This is still technically drainage.
Yes, that is correct. The river is, if you see that electrical on that tree, the river should be about 3 or 4 feet below that.
Wow. So this is all still draining. Again, we are at
the Blue Oaks RV Park. There's restaurants here. There were cabins here. We've been speaking with Lorena Guillen, who is the owner. It's a very troubling scene out here. We're going to continue capturing this video for you. For now, we're going to send it back to you guys in studio.
Was her park full for 4th of July weekend?
Was the park full for 4th of July weekend with people that were here?
Yes, absolutely. I had, thankfully, the other half of my guests that were coming on the 4th.
So there were as many people as there could have been.
Yes, that is correct. But I know everybody else was full. I was probably at 80% capacity at that point, with the other 20% coming on the 4th in the morning.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. This is absolutely devastating.
A few concrete pads that even remain. The RVs were swept away, the concrete was swept away. I mean, the little ground is scoured away.
It looks like a hurricane tore through Texas Hill Country. But this storm had no name and no warning.
We realized that the water is rising really fast.
Car horns screamed as vehicles shorted out underwater.
We start banging on everybody's door, getting people out.
If you were lucky, someone banged on your door. If not, this is how you woke up.
Was this like a worst case scenario because it's the holiday?
Absolutely. They were full. They have 14 reservations missing. I have 6 people missing.
If you didn't get out on time and you were in an RV, this is unsurvivable. Look at this. This RV shredded, wrapped around the tree. There's another one there, and then you can see another one down the river. This whole area was full of RVs, cabins. Everyone was here for the holiday weekend. This is a really popular area to celebrate the 4th of July. And it's gone.
Everybody lost everything. There were some people that were able to get out, but only in their underwear. With their dogs, nothing else. Nothing else.
No time.
No time.
The forecast called for up to 6 inches of rain. Up to twice that fell. People went to bed believing that they'd wake up to fireworks, not flash floods.
I was expecting rain, but not a flood.
I slept through it.
It was the last night we didn't know anything. It was when we woke up this morning.
The thunder was crazy, and I couldn't sleep. So at 2:30, I started checking because it was just non-stop, and it was hard rain.
Along the Guadalupe River, at least 18 summer camps sat directly in the flood's path. At one camp alone, officials say around 20 girls were unaccounted for. Parents and guardians lined up at a nearby elementary school, waiting to hear if their child's name would be called.
Some very emotional moments happening behind me. In the school bus are children who were at their overnight camps. There's a lot of summer camps that are located right along the Guadalupe River, and so many of these parents had no idea if their children were okay or not. The river rapidly rising in the early morning hours, washing away cabins and sadly taking numerous lives along the river. These kids being brought from their camps here to the elementary school to be reunited with friends and family.
We saw that it had flooded up here and just kind of didn't know, and the not knowing is the worst part. So both her and my son are real strong swimmers, so I wasn't real worried about them as far as in the water. But, you know, water moving that fast is insane. That's all you can think about.
In the town of Hunt, the water hit harder. It took high-profile military vehicles just to reach the survivors, pulling up like lifeboats on wheels, soaked, shaken, silent. The survivors climbed aboard, their lives reduced to whatever they could grab.
We get flash flood warnings on our phones all the time. It's like the Amber Alert, where you live in Texas, you don't really think much of it, and obviously we were wrong.
This chilling video captures the river rising in real time, each lightning strike illuminating just how fast the water was climbing. Inside London's home, floodwater surged up the staircase, step by step, second by second, until escape was nearly impossible.
We got to the top floor, and it just kept rising and kept rising. And we were getting ready to go on the roof. Like I said, we had tied bed sheets together to bring ourselves to the top. And right before we climbed out, we realized that we were fine. Well, we realized we were fine because the water had obviously started to stop and go down, and fortunately, we were okay.
Terrifying. It's the only way you can describe the force and fury of water. That is the Guadalupe River behind me. I'm in Kerrville, Texas, the Texas Hill Country. This section right here was a part of this apartment complex. It was lifted off its foundation, carried about 100 feet away into the parking lot. The only thing that stopped it, these old oak trees. I spoke with one girl who had just graduated from college. She had just left for work around 5 this morning, grumbling, of course, about working so early and on a holiday. But that might have saved her life.
Honestly, I've been running every day, and I would record like that little bridge, and every time I would get it in the clip, it was dry. Like there was barely any water, so I was never expecting it to hit this high up. At most, maybe like the railings, sure, but I didn't expect it to go from like dry to be this high up.
Within a day?
Within hours, because I was here right before 5, and by like 6, 5:30, this was basically the way it is right now.
Where do you work?
HEB.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So, did you ever think work would save your life, or
No, I
you probably
did not.
hated those early hours?
Yeah, I was like, I'm here so early, but I'm glad I did.
So agencies from all over are flying. I've seen the National Guard, local sheriffs, any helicopter basically available. I think they're flying up and down the Guadalupe River now, actively searching, hoping to rescue.
Of the roughly 237 people rescued on the first day, 167 were lifted out by helicopter. Many of them children from the flooded camps. State officials say the search won't stop, not during the day, not when the sun goes down, not until every missing person is found.
I think what's so astounding is just how high the debris mark is here. That's 20 feet at least.
The water was not like that. The water was raging. My birds are gone. In a matter of 10 minutes, it went from there, maybe 15 minutes, went from there all the way to my deck, right there, and another 5 minutes to get that way, but it was completely, I had 2 feet of water in my house.
About 4 months worth of rain fell in just 6 hours. The Guadalupe River rose to nearly 30 feet, possibly the highest ever recorded. We don't know for sure because the gauge broke.
You just see how the ground scoured from the force of the rapids of the water that ripped through here. There were numerous RVs, and they're all swept away. Sadly, one RV that was down there, that family was swept away. Amazingly, though, the owner of this campground, search and rescue teams were able to get door to door, and most people escaped.
Like the catastrophic flood of 1987, campers were...
Search and rescue teams were able to get door to door, and most people escaped.
Like the catastrophic flood of 1987, campers were caught off guard. It happened overnight with no real warning during a holiday weekend when families were sound asleep.
Chief Travis Griffith here. I just wanted to take a moment to be able to share some footage from our wonderful drone team, the rescues and things that took place on July 4th, 2025. What you're watching right here is a vehicle rescue. This is from the Fort Worth Fire Department. They're part of Texas Task Force 1 Swiftwater Rescue. They responded quickly and were able to assist this motorist who is stranded. There's another gentleman that you can see right here that was also getting out of the high water. This is one of San Angelo police officers that was able to make it to this location to work on trying to get this citizen out of the water. We have blurred the faces of people that have been involved in this just because we want to make sure that we don't put out any information that we shouldn't be. Police officers did this all across San Angelo, as well as firemen were helping get people out of vehicles and out of property. This is the Texas Task Force 1 Swiftwater Rescue again. This is a father and son, a very young son that is stranded, holding on to a pole. This is a very raw video. We have edited some for time, but again, blurring the faces of those involved as they're working to rescue our citizens. I just can't say enough about how much we appreciate the Fort Worth Fire Department for being able to be here and to be a part of that Texas Task Force 1 to be able to be rapidly deployed. The videos that you're going to see here is just kind of giving an overview of the extensive amount of damage that was seen at this time frame. This is just after the early morning hours. The waters were very high and the extent of damage was significant. This is just one part of the town that was being affected. At the time, we saw extensive flooding going on up north. This is our armored personnel carrier. It's a rescue vehicle we use in case of shootings. We were using it to get through high water and rescue people. This is a rough estimate of the major water flows, not all of it. This is major water flows that we're showing of swift water that was coming through the area. What you're viewing here, you see Houston Hart there in the upper left hand and Bell Street there in the center upper portion. And we will be speeding this feed up to be able to provide a little better idea of the damage in a more efficient manner. As you can see, this is Pulliam Street that we're starting to cross over, and Bell is up to the mid-left portion. Where maybe people have seen that picture of the house that was on Pulliam. This is kind of surveying the totality. The waters have come down a little bit at this point. We're just trying to get as much idea of where we could be missing anything, and you see how Bell Street is completely submerged there. This whole region had people that were stuck in houses and cars, and we were working to make sure that we didn't miss any calls for help. As you can see, this is Preiser here. This was completely underwater, and for a very vast portion of that. As we continue south towards the Bell Street complex, you'll see that how wide and spread the damage is. So we're nearing the last of the populated area right here. We won't continue to show everything further to the south, but just to give you a reference. We will highlight the trailer park here and show you kind of where that is off of St. Anne. And then the Bell Street complex is there in your upper right-hand portion. We saw pretty significant damage to the trailer park in this area. Some trailers were swept downstream. This day has drastically altered many people's lives in our community. The first responders from the San Angelo Police Department, Fire Department, the Tom Green County Sheriff's Department, our local Texas Department of Public Safety, our troopers. I cannot say thank you enough to everyone that showed up this day, and this is nothing short of heroes showing up in the face of adversity and putting their life on the line to save others. We saw this from community members as well that showed up with their boats, with their large trucks and things to help get people out. This was San Angelo at its best. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this community and all the work of the first responders, especially to those that are in the parks and wildlife that showed up, the game wardens that showed up to help out, and our park police with the state. They were here with their drones. The footage that you watched today was put together and was recorded by the San Angelo Police Department's drone team. They just did an excellent job and worked over 20 hours, I believe, during that time frame. So thank you to everyone who has helped our community, and please be with the family of those that lost a loved one and those that have been injured physically, psychologically by the...
Trying to reset. Is that HVAC?
The big question was, what do we do? And, things were getting dicier by the moment. We couldn't tell if the water was going to continue to rise. So I said, we need to get out of the house. So I grabbed my wife, and we literally jumped in the water, and it swept us down to about 200 feet down that way. And there was a crepe myrtle tree that we grabbed hold of, and we waited for rescue. I literally pulled up my waterproof phone and started calling people going, hey, get Swiftwater Rescue to come get us, because we are like in extremis. We are in bad shape. I never knew that it could do that. I've seen it come up a little bit. I've seen it cover over the hike and bike trail there, but I've never seen it come up any further than that. And yeah, this is like a once in, 200 year kind of flood. Yeah, so this is very unusual. This is just a weird confluence of weather conditions that occurred, and we literally dropped 14 inches of rain. About 6:30 in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, we heard some thumps. I had a shed around the corner, and the shed started banging against the house. And my wife jumped up and she looked out the back and she said, "There's a river back there." And so we ran to the front, and by the time we grabbed 2 dogs and a set of keys, the water had risen, covered 4 motorcycles, and floated a Jeep, and then floated a big truck. A sunroom over that deck, and there's a lot of stuff in there. It was about 10, 15 feet tall. So, literally this area, even by the time, over the last 5 minutes, the water went from right there to right here. And then another 10 minutes, the water was like this high. It was scary. It was really scary.
complete shock. I'm still in shock today. The devastation was such that I'm still in shock today. And with the rescues going on and the helicopters, you just know there's so many missing children and missing people. You just want them to be found for the sakes of the families. But you know it's not going to be a good ending. It's just not going to be. There's no way people could have survived the swiftness of the water.
So what you're showing me there?
What I have here are photos of the RV park right at the end of my granny's road that were completely flooded. Oh no, Granny. I can't get any more. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's coming up to my feet. No warnings at all. They came hours later, which was the most devastating part. You know, we got the warnings on our phones hours later. Hours later. The destruction had already been done before the warnings came out. And as you could see, the flood warnings did not come for hours later. Hours later. So I woke up, I hear the rain coming down in buckets. And I'm also with the rain, I'm hearing cracking noises. It's indescribable, the sounds of how loud they were, which turned out to be the cypress trees coming down. The massive cypress trees that came down along the river. The cracking noise was just, you know, it was incredible. Just incredible noises. It was almost every man for himself, and we ran from neighbor to neighbor to see who needed help. You know, it was neighborly. It was people looking out for people. You know, the fire departments and the police hadn't arrived yet, so it was more or less the neighbors and the people surrounding you in your area that really stepped up to the plate. Do you want me to give you the one? Something I'd never seen before. You knew it was tragedy. It was just something so serious happening. And the swiftness of the water, it wasn't slowing. It wasn't slowing. Debris and furniture and RVs were coming down the river. The sounds, it's just unbelievable. The sounds. This is devastating. Absolutely devastating.
Miguel, Miguel, Romero, Romero.
And Julie, same thing.
It's Juliemunoz, Julie Munoz.
Guys, first, just want to say how sorry we are. I know you guys have been out here working nonstop. Miguel, when did you get out here this morning? Y'all have been working extremely hard.
Yeah, most definitely. We came around 2 to come help out, and then our brother-in-law ended up bringing the skid steer to try to help and see what we can do. And without it, we probably wouldn't have been able to do as much as we've done already. I mean, we've had no help from the city. We've had to find, help within, the community, neighbors, friends that work with my brother. And it's tough. It's, it's not easy to be thinking, well, what if something we do find, it's heartbreaking to have to, witness that. And I don't know, it's really hard.
I'm gonna let them swing by here. And Miguel, just to
yeah, it's loud.
Yeah, got the exhaust portion.
Yeah. But I mean, it was all the way up to the top of that tree right there, and with that thing, oh my God, it took no time at all. But we had blood, sweat, and tear coming into this just to see if we could find somebody.
Miguel, who is it that you're looking for?
We're looking for my brother Leo, his wife, Natalia, and his son, which is almost 2 years old, and his name is Carlos. So it's hard to figure that there's a baby out there right now, and it's already been more than 48 hours. You know, what if, you know, he could be hanging on a tree or embedded somewhere? There's no telling.
Miguel, I know you've been finding this. This is where Leo's house ended up.
It was just right down there is where it was, and somehow I just pretty much hugged the tree, and we were hoping that they were in there, but sadly we haven't found anybody. But there's no telling until we clean everything up. You know, there's a chance that they could be in the mud. There's a chance they could be under some limbs, under a car down there. There's no telling, you know.
And it sounds like y'all aren't going to stop.
No, not even. Not even if we don't have any help, we'll find a way.
Yeah, we'll do it ourselves if, you know, it comes down to it. So we'll be out here day and night. You know, eventually when it gets too dark, we'll go home, but we'll be out here in the morning right away and start at it again.
Absolutely. I think anybody would. And Miguel, how grateful are you? I know you said the owner helped you guys out.
Yeah.
You had your brother-in-law come in and bring in this backhoe. What's it like to just see the community come together to help you guys?
It's shocking because not a lot of people out there are that caring to lend a hand. You know, I mean, when it comes down to it, they'll want to help, but some people don't, you know, and that's just the bottom line, you know.
Miguel, going through this, I mean, y'all went through his house today. Just what comes up when you are going through these things?
A lot of emotions, especially when we found, you know, stuff of the baby, you know, the bottles, some pictures, you know, his bed, just everything. And we even found my brother's bed, and my other brother Gustavo, he was like, well, that's his bed. And I was getting ready for the worst to see if something was tangled up in there. When I pulled out the baby's crib, it felt like something heavy was in there, but luckily it was just water. But right there and then, you don't know. You know, how do you say, hey, I found, you know, the baby?
Of Central Texas. Let's give you a rundown now of what we know as of this hour. Local officials in Kerr County in the Texas Hill Country now tell us 43 people have been killed by the deadly flooding, 28 of which are adults, 15 children. Dozens remain missing, including young girls who were at the Christian summer camp known as Camp Mystic, and several of them are from North Texas. Our special coverage continues right now. Our own Peyton Yeager is live tonight from the hardest hit area. Peyton.
Hi, Casey, and all day today we are learning more about these victims, specifically the Camp Mystic girls. I've been back and forth with their parents over the last 24 hours in communication. It's been absolutely excruciating. Many of them making the trip or trying to get here to Kerr County as soon as possible. We know that more than a dozen of these Camp Mystic girls are still missing this evening. We're going to show you some. Tragically today, some of these families received heartbreaking updates. Best friends Lila Bonner and Eloise Peck did not survive the floodwaters. The two best friends from Dallas came to Camp Mystic together. They were both going into the 3rd grade at Bradfield Elementary and Highland Park ISD. We know Highland Park, that community, and also University Park, deeply hurting tonight. A 9-year-old Janie Hunt of Dallas also died. Her family confirmed to Fox 4 today. Also, I've been in contact with the Harbor family of Dallas. The Harbor say sisters Brooke and Blair Harbor did not survive. The two attended St. Rita Catholic in Dallas. The two sisters were staying with their grandparents, Mike Harbor and his wife Charlene. The grandparents are still missing this evening. The Harbors are also here tonight in Kerr County. The Brake family from Burleson tells us Joni and Robert Brake are still unaccounted for. They were last seen at an RV park in Ingram. We visited that RV park today. It was completely wiped out. And there are so many stories familiar and similar to these that we are hearing from the disaster zone. I know I mentioned this at the top of the hour, but we still have parents who are one town over at Ingram Elementary who are now waiting for a second night, hopefully to be briefed with information in the morning. You have volunteers and police officers just walking up and down the Guadalupe River, hoping to just find anything and report it to first responders. Casey?
Peyton, I'm wondering, is there a curfew that you're aware of? A lot of times with these zones, they try to keep people inside at night. Is there any activity? Are there people out on the roads where you are? I know power's out in a lot of the area.
Some areas, I have not personally heard of a curfew, but we are being told by officials and Governor Greg Abbott, please do not come down near this area, the Guadalupe River. I mean, there's still all hands on deck, first responders, heavy machinery is here, and it's going to take some time to find some closure for some of these victims.
Been panicking, all he's seeing is the water rising. It's already up to our hips and steadily going up faster and faster. And so he goes and he tries to break the window open with his fist, and it sliced his main artery and his arm, almost cut his arm clean off.
Y'all live at a trailer park here in Kerrville.
Ingram.
River's Edge. Talk to me about, again, one at a time. No need to talk to me about what happened this morning, starting with the rising water, and then we'll obviously get what happened to Julian.
Julian got home at 1. We went to bed about 3. I just went outside to look for my oldest son's meds, and there was little puddles on the ground. We went to bed about 5 a.m. My mother-in-law and my son come in and woke us up, said it was flooding. They're screaming, panicking. I get up, put clothes on. The water's up to my ankles already. We go and look in the kitchen, and we're looking out the window. My car's moved from the front door down to my mother-in-law's room, a good, 10-15 feet, and then,
Not to ask a painful question, but when you're seeing this, you're just woken up, there's this rising water, what's going through your mind? What are you feeling in that moment?
we were panicking. We didn't know what we were going to do. We wanted to see how high the water was, to see if there was a chance of us getting out, getting up, higher ground. We tried to open the front door, and water just came pouring in, just flooding. I was barely able to get the door back shut. Julian went to the window, was talking to them through the window.
Just for my own context, how far off the river is this trailer park?
200 yards.
Wow, 200 yards. So, and you're right behind them. You're in a trailer home right behind them.
Yes, sir.
Closer to the river.
And what is happening at the same time?
We were hearing the same thing, and we were hearing gurgling out of the toilet. My husband went to go look to see what it was, and by the time he's like, babe, the water was coming out, and by the time he said the water was coming out, from every direction, it was just, all the water was rising. We didn't know what to do. We were panicking. We were standing on our bed. The water was rushing. My brother was like, John, talking to my husband, and I was like,
y'all are close enough that y'all can shout to each other from these homes.
Yes. He's like, John. I was like, Julian. I was like, are you okay? He goes, yes. He goes, are you okay? I said, yes. And then I screamed back. I was like, I'm scared. He goes, me too. And that was it. And after that, that was the last thing I heard from him.
So when did things turn there?
We rushed back to the room to get our phones so we could call 911 to see what was going on, to see what we could do, to see if we could get help out. We called, we got rerouted to another county. They rerouted us back to Kerrville. They told us help was on the way, just to get to higher ground, just wait it out, that we'd be okay. My husband panicking, all he's seeing is the water rising. It's already up to our hips and steadily going up faster and faster. And so he goes and he tries to break the window open with his fist, and it sliced his main artery and his arm, almost cut his arm clean off.
Because just so that is horrific. I'm so sorry. just so I'm clear, though, the option was there was no. I mean, y'all were trapped.
We were trapped. We couldn't get out the front door. We couldn't get out in the windows. The water was already up almost to the windows. We didn't know where we were going to go. I had the kids up on the bed so that they weren't close to the water.
How many kids were in? Two kids and your mother-in-law?
2 kids, my mother-in-law, and all of our animals.
And so he punches out this window to get you guys out.
To try to get us up on the roof, even though it was a metal roof and we would have slid off. He was just trying to do what they told us to get to higher ground. That's the only option we had.
You know, and I'm stumbling for words because I can't imagine how terrible that was to be there to watch this terrible thing that's happening.
It was horrifying. There was blood everywhere. It just started gushing. He was screaming. He was like, somebody wrap it, somebody wrap it. I had both kids. I was trying to keep them on the bed because my baby was freaking out, and I didn't want him to fall into the water because it was already so deep and he can't swim. And so my mother-in-law had to tie the tourniquet, and she was freaking out and screaming and talking about, I don't know how to do this.
What happened after that?
The water kept rising. Julian tried to stay above it. He had lost so much blood at that point. He had no feeling in his arms. He was lethargic. He was barely able to form words. He was nodding in and out of the water. Me and my mother-in-law were having to hold him up and take care of our animals and our kids. And we kept him above water as long as we could. And he looked at us. He said, I'm sorry. I'm not going to make it. I love y'all. And within minutes, he was gone. His heartbeat stopped. We checked for a pulse. We slapped him. Nothing. He was gone.
How did y'all get out?
The water levels eventually started to lower. Well after we called 911 6 different times, got hung up on, told people were on the way. We'd seen a lifeboat at like 7:30. They didn't come. We were screaming. They put a black tag up.
You know, I keep asking this question, but like at that moment, I mean, your fiance passes. What's going through your mind?
He was already gone. The only thing I could think about was saving the kids, making sure that we made it alive, because it wasn't worth it to lose him and all of us die. He didn't do that for no reason. He did it to save us.
You know, right? And talk to me about that. Now that time's passed. I mean, he was trying to save y'all. How are you reflecting on that now?
What do you mean?
I mean, this was pretty heroic of him.
I mean, extremely heroic, and the only thing he was worried about was getting us safe, making sure the kids were safe, making sure that we were okay, and he did the only thing that he could do. Like, we literally couldn't do anything else. We were trapped inside our back bedroom. Half of our house was gone. We were trapped by a door that wouldn't open because it was being pushed by water. I climbed over so much debris. I tried to literally rip the metal off the house so that I could open an opening big enough for us and the kids to get out. I cut my hands, my feet. I cared about nothing but making sure that we made it out because nobody else cared.
And when did you learn what happened to Julian? When did you learn what happened to Julian?
So, I called my mother's phone. She answered. And I was like, what's going on? How are y'all doing? She said, Julian just cut his arm open. He's dying. And then, it just cut off. So I call him back. I was like, so how's Julian? She's like, we had to let him go. I was like, why'd y'all let him go? She's like, we need to save ourselves.
I had to save the kids.
And I was mad at first. But at the end of the day, my brother wouldn't have done it or have wanted it any other way. Because he cherished those kids with his life. He was a stay-at-home dad. He wanted every waking moment with those kids. And for him to do such a selfless thing and not worry about him and worry about his 2 kids, his fiance, and his mother. He didn't die in vain. And that's not ever going to stop us from remembering him.
This is obviously such a devastating travesty for y'all's community. 13 confirmed dead, dozens missing. I know y'all voiced me off camera concerns about the response from law enforcement and first responders.
I mean, between the 2 of us, we called 11 times, and every time we were hung up on and told we were going to get updates, and they hung up. We got no updates. We knew nothing. We didn't know when help was coming. We didn't know when we didn't know if we were going to make it. We all thought we were going to die that day.
Mm-hmm.
This morning.
Yeah, I literally had to call my 3 kids and call them at 5:30 in the morning because I was on top of a bed and I was touching the roof. That's how far the water was. And it was above my head. So I'm 4'7", and it was above my head. So I was on top of the bed and I called my kids and I said, I love y'all. If I don't see y'all tomorrow, I love y'all.
My kids were trapped between a mattress and the roof for 90% of it just to keep them alive. I tried to put them in a tote at one point and it took on too much water. We got trapped on one side of the bedroom that was at the lower point because the trailer had already been ripped in half.
So the water eventually recedes. I mean, talk about how long did this whole ordeal take? How long were you trapped and what happened?
5 to 7:30.
5 to 7:30 for 2.5 hours you're trapped. Water finally drops slow enough.
Water's freezing. Fuck. So much stuff is in the water. There's furniture. There's broken glass from the windows. There's all kinds of debris and stuff from breaking off the house that we're trying to wade through. And when the water finally drops and we get to where we're going, we can't find Julian. All we're worried about is getting the kids to higher ground. My neighbor walked out from his house, got to us, helped me get the kids out, helped us get them up to dry land, and helped me go and get them out of their house because they were trapped.
We were trapped. We couldn't get out front door. We couldn't get out the window because when it was raining, our car got taken too in the flood. And their house, so where they were at, where my brother passed away at, that little area hit where my bedroom was, where mine and my husband, we were sleeping. So we were trapped. We couldn't get out of the front door of our bedroom. We couldn't get out of like the windows. We were trapped for like dear life. So I really thought we were gonna pass away. We finally had to literally pick up our refrigerator and move it just to get to the back door, just for us to get out. And we still didn't know if the electricity was on or not to touch the water.
So we had to risk it. And then me and my neighbor went and we searched the other 2 trailers that were at the back closest to the water, tried to look for any survivors. We didn't find any survivors. We didn't hear anything. We looked as thoroughly as we could without risking ourselves. And then I went back and I found Julian's body and I uncovered him. And my dad found me and my sister-in-law breaking over his body.
All right. So what's your name, bud?
Hi, my name is Ruffin Boyette. I'm one of the campers from Camp Lahana, one of the camps that flooded. And I had a first-hand view of the flood. And so the cabins were flooding and the walls were like, they broke down. And all of the campers in those cabins had to go up on the rafters, and they had to wait there until they could swim out. And my brother here, he had to swim out of his cabin.
Really? Here. Do you want to here, can I mic you up? Here you go. One moment. Okay. And so you had to swim out of your cabin?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
So the flood started getting bigger, and it was going up to, we had bunk beds in our cabins, and it was going up to the top bunk, and we had one choice, and we had to swim out of our cabins.
What time was it? Was this
It was like we woke up at 2.
Yeah, we had to wake up at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
What'd you wake up to? Say people telling you to wake up?
I didn't
people
fall
were
asleep.
screaming.
I didn't fall asleep. Like, I couldn't sleep because of the lightning.
Yeah, people were screaming that there was a flood. There was a lot of water on the floor.
Yeah, I was the first one awake, and basically one of the other kids in my cabin, he woke up the counselor, and the counselor was like, what? And then all the other campers woke up.
Yeah.
So that what? And they were like, oh my god, we're flooding.
Yeah, and some cabins like flooded away.
So what did
but nobody died.
No, we are thankful for that. On the way here, we saw all of like the other camps destroyed, like obliterated.
And tell me, how'd you guys get out of there? They put you guys on buses, or did you have
Yes,
to wait?
Yeah, we had to get on a bus.
Yes, we had to get on a bus. We were in other cabins for like cabins on hills for about 17 hours waiting until
we hosted a cabin.
the buses get here, and it was not fun.
It was not fun.
My name is Pierce Boyette, and his name is.
And my name is Ruffin Boyette. Ruffin.
Okay, so guys, like, sounds like a really long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you feeling right now?
Tired. Not hungry. Or at least not anymore.
All right. I'm glad you guys are okay. Thanks for talking to us. I appreciate it.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, we've recorded 59 deceased in Kerr County. Among those who are deceased, we have 38 adults and 21 children. 18 adults pending identification, and 4 children are also pending identification. At present, there are 11 Camp Mystic campers unaccounted for, along with 1 counselor. We extend our sincerest condolences and prayers for every single family affected by this tragedy. And we continue to work around the clock and reunite these families. We will continue to search efforts until everybody is found. Our missing person call center is open, and those reporting missing loved ones can call the number 830-258-1111. I'll repeat one more time, 830-258-1111. Please follow the Kerr County Sheriff's Office and City of Kerrville Facebook for your latest information. At this time, I'll turn it over to our City Manager, Dalton Rice.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you all for being here today. Everyone in the community is hurting, and we know many of you are locals or have some local connections here, so please keep everybody in your thoughts as we continue to navigate this very challenging time for our community. Search operations continue. Starting about 0600 this morning, we started putting boots on the ground. We have increased our number of personnel that are navigating the really challenging shores along the bank line, but we are continuing to make progress from west to east as we continue operations. What we really need from y'all is to really help us get the word out. We know that people want to volunteer, but what we're starting to see is personal drones that are flying. With these personal drones that are flying, that is a danger to aircraft, which risks then further operations. So if you could, please pass the communication along that we need to keep these personal drones out of the sky. We have drones and assets flying. We want to continue to do that.
We just heard there from the sheriff, the mayor, and the city manager. Clearly the news that no one wanted to receive. The death toll, as was anticipated, rising here in Central Texas as a result of historic floods. We just learned there from the sheriff, Larry Latha, that 21 children have now been confirmed killed just here in Kerr County, along with 38 adults. That brings the death toll just in Kerr County alone to 59 people, and across the state of Texas that number is actually higher. It's closer to at least 67 given a number of deaths in neighboring counties. The sheriff there also revealing that a dozen plus adults that they've recovered, cadavers that they've recovered, remain unidentified, as well as some 4 children. They are hoping to get them identified to allow their loved ones to learn of what happened. We've also heard from the sheriff that here at Camp Mystic, 11 campers at this all-girls camp remain missing. They are young children, some as young as 9 to 10 years old. We also understand that one counselor is unaccounted for, so a dozen people from Camp Mystic still unaccounted for. Again, just a devastating update there from officials here in Kerr County. 59 people, and that death toll again is expected to rise. Notably, as they were speaking, we could hear thunder here behind us, and it has started pouring again, slower now than it was earlier this morning, but we are anticipating more rain, and that of course makes things more difficult for rescue crews. We understand that something like 400 first responders are now on the scene, along with dozens of boats, canines, and air support as well. There was a question about how people in this area were not alerted sooner that this wall of water up to 24 feet from Guadalupe River was heading in their direction. Officials there saying that they didn't want to get into the details at this point, that those were valid questions that they would look forward to answering, but they said that they didn't want to go that direction as family members are out there still trying to figure out what happened to their loved ones. Let's go ahead and go back to Jason Pack. He's a former FEMA External Affairs Officer, retired FBI supervisory agent. Jason, wondering what you made of the comments that you heard there.
Well, it's definitely tough news to hear, but from a crisis communication standpoint, they're out there trying to give you the latest that they know. We talked earlier, Boris, about those grid searches they were doing. They confirmed they were doing those in the whole swath of the Guadalupe, not just in Kerr County, but all the way down the length of where the flooding happened. So you have that piece of information. Another interesting piece of information and things that sometimes happen in these disasters is people want to call in help. And so they've gotten ahead of that. They've set up this volunteer donation coordination. It sounds like that the Salvation Army is in Texas there is the coordinating arm of that. That's going to do a couple things. You've got people calling looking for missing people into the police department there, but you also have people calling in wants to help. And so that ties up those emergency lines and delays, could delay first responder help. So good on them for getting the voluntary and the donations off to a voluntary agency able to coordinate. That allows them to focus on the task at hand, and that's finding these 11 missing children and the one counselor from Camp Mystic. And as you mentioned, in other parts of the state, other victims who have died. As we knew yesterday, Governor Abbott listed some 18 to 20 counties, I think, in that state declaration that he submitted to FEMA to the president for an expedited declaration. So hopefully we'll hear more about that today.